Hey, we're two Star Wars nerds, and today we're looking at Obi-Wan Kenobi and Revenge of the Sith and why he's amazing.
So, here we go. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan.
In Revenge of the Sith, such an amazing movie, such an amazing character.
Yeah.
It was interesting. You brought this up before we started filming, how he takes kind of a we don't want to say like a back seat in this, but the shift is definitely focusing on Anakin in this movie. But Obi-Wan plays a huge role.
Huge.
So let's just go through what he experiences in the movie. Obviously, we start.
He hates flying. Flying's for droids.
Yeah.
We gotta cover that. Obi-Wan Kenobi hates flying.
Yeah, and nothing's really changed. You know, it's like we keep getting those lines, and
I love him.
But he's a great pilot. He's incredible starfighter. But then it's like you have this whole thing where it's very reminiscent of Qui-Gon and Obi on the Trade Federation ship. You know, and the way they fought droids with him and Anakin.
Yeah.
Now doing it at a whole nother level, full-blown war and assault.
Right.
So it's really cool to see that. It's just great, you know, and it's kind of harrowing and tragic because you know where they end up at the end of the film. So it starts with them fighting side by side.
And then fighting each other.
And then it ends with them fighting each other. It's horrific. But then when we get into the whole scene with Grievous and, you know, that whole fight there, and, you know, then you have like Palpatine and Dooku and all of this, like I love how you just see how he's a negotiator, and you see his swordsmanship. You know, it's so awesome.
I think in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan is like almost like the perfect well-rounded Jedi. Like just that example, like he has it all. And he's like proficient in everything that he does. Like you see him fight, you see him fly, like you were saying, you see him do all these different things. You see him escape Order 66, like not like that was rare. Like he's one of the only Jedi who did that. So I think that's a really cool thing about Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith. He's like the perfect example of a well-rounded Jedi, and he shines really in it. And he's not in it a lot, but those moments he is in it is powerful moments. Like they're so important and integral to the storyline.
Oh yeah, and I think that's a perfect explanation of him and description, that he is, I think, the best Jedi at that point in time. I think he is just a perfect example of that. And so then you just even start getting into things where it's like he's like taking that like shuttle train, and that interaction he has with Anakin. I love that interaction between them two, because you kind of see him step back kind of off Anakin and almost look at him more as a peer than like as a Padawan. And so you kind of see him, I guess, look at Anakin different. And it's just, I think it's an important moment in Anakin's story, but also in Obi-Wan's, because we know where it leads. But to just see that growth in their relationship and that depth, and Obi-Wan is really starting to trust Anakin more and more, and you see that in Revenge of the Sith, and that's what makes it so hard, you know, at the end. But like I said, it's so important to their storyline because you see this trust develop more, and you kind of see Obi-Wan take a back seat from Anakin and kind of lets Anakin lead more, and whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, I don't think Obi-Wan could have prevented Anakin's turn to the dark side if he was still more present. It makes the story have more depth, and I love seeing their relationship develop in Revenge of the Sith, and where they are, it seems like it's in a really good place. And that moment on the train is the last moment, I think, where it's Anakin and Obi before it's Vader and Obi, and it's like, wait a minute, what happened? And I was thinking about that the last time I watched it. I'm like, wait, that's the last time they speak until Mustafar. And it's like, you would think all this crazy stuff happened, but a lot happened to Anakin, and was brought to the surface, and Obi-Wan wasn't around. So then when he was around, it was almost too late. Yeah, and it's. I was just watching. I'm like, she's about to cry. She's about to cry.
No,
but
I held up.
He held back. No, but it is so fascinating to me just to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi's progress on the right track while Anakin goes the complete other direction.
He starts on the kind of right track though in Revenge of the Sith, because I remember when I first watched it, I'm like, how are they gonna make him Darth Vader by the end of this movie? Because like he seems like he's doing so good, and then it's like
yeah, and you know, stuff's pretty rapid.
Yeah, and it was a long process. It wasn't one moment. It's been since Phantom Menace. This has been building up, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and you know, it all those exchanges between Obi and Anakin, you know, building up to obviously the end on Mustafar is very, very intentional and very powerful.
Mm-hmm. It's an awesome scene.
Yeah,
even though it's heartbreaking.
But even in the in between, while you have the Jedi spread thin, you see Obi really confronting Grievous again. Mm-hmm. And it's quite interesting because the run-in that they have earlier, and you know, Grievous does what Grievous does, you know, runs away. And
good at that.
Again, like we talked about this with Obi and being a great detective in Attack of the Clones. The way, I mean, even the way the meme is so perfect, you know, hello there, you know, but just the way his humor comes through, and it's like, dude, you're in the fight of your life and you're going to heckle, you know, this villain.
Yeah.
But the way, he's like the perfect one because of his mastery of, Form 3. Like, it's just so perfect to combat Grievous.
He wins that fight with a blaster. And so, like, again, you see him using all these skills, and you see them like culminate to this amazing Jedi.
Yeah, and it's just so crazy to see in that whole sequence. That's an amazing action-packed sequence. That's great. But then, you know, obviously we were talking about, you brought this up when it gets to Order 66, and you know, it's sad to see his interaction with Cody and all of this, and then Order 66 happen, and you know, basically he just plunges to save his life and they think he's dead and all of this, but then he has to deal with going to the Jedi Temple with Yoda and seeing all the dead Jedi Knights and Padawans and seeing the security tapes of the younglings being murdered, and all this, like, it's just so crazy. And to see then he talks with Padme, and he's like, yeah, you know, like basically he's like, I know exactly what's going on. I know the relationship,
right? All
this, and then getting to Mustafar, you know, before that, before we get to like kind of the meat of everything. Anything else kind of stand out leading up to Mustafar with Obi for you?
The only thing I can think with Obi-Wan, it obviously there's so many important characters to Star Wars, and especially Revenge of the Sith, I think, is primarily Anakin's story, because you're seeing that transition. But this movie is so important to Obi-Wan. Like, it's kind of it's important to him because of what happens to Anakin. Obviously, it changes everything. And I think it's so easy to focus on Anakin, but Obi-Wan, just his character development too, because of what he goes through, is so, it's sad, but it makes him it makes him the Jedi he is in A New Hope. And even at the end when he takes Luke, like, he takes Anakin's kid to take care of him, even though Anakin at that point is a terrible person, he's still trying to help him, whether Anakin realizes it or not. So I think Anakin's one of my favorite characters. I think Obi-Wan's almost underrated,
for
especially
sure.
in Revenge of the Sith. So I think he needs more love.
Yeah, you're right, because I mean, he is seen as an incredible character, but there's a heavy focus on Anakin. When you think about the fact that him and Padme traveled to Mustafar, and he sends Padme out, and it's this, the whole point is to save Anakin. It's like, don't go there. And then he steps out, and Anakin does all the crazy stuff like choking Padme and all this, and he's talking with them, and he's like, your empire, you know, and he's like confronting, he's like, are you serious? And this is a master talking to his apprentice, and he's saying, are you kidding me? Like,
he's like, what happened? We were just talking on the train, everything was fine.
Yeah, and he's like, you know, when it clicks, he's like, only a Sith deals in absolutes. And he's like, basically, I'll do what I must.
Yeah, poor Obi-Wan, that must be so hard.
And
that must have been so hard.
Like, the second he draws his blade, he has to disassociate, and he's like, I have to do what's right. Because he knows what could happen. And the whole fight sequence is worthy of its own breakdown. But then, obviously, when he tells him it's over, I have the high ground, and Anakin's already tried this move several times in this fight. And Anakin tries the very move that Obi-Wan's famous for, and he ends up taking him out. And the whole, like, you were the chosen one, you were my brother, I loved you, all of this stuff. You know, it's so heartbreaking, but I think what makes me like Obi-Wan so much, and in particular why I like him so much in Revenge of the Sith, is that emotion that's conveyed by Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, he does such a great job in that role.
And then obviously, you know, with the birth of Luke and Leia, and
he's there.
Yeah, I mean, you just see through and through Obi is very invested, not in just war efforts, but in Anakin. and in Padme, and really what you see is you see from the Phantom Menace basically making fun of Anakin to then caring so deeply about him. You see this progression to the point where he then takes Luke, like you said, to Owen and Beru, and all of that.
And then watches over him for years.
Yeah. Weathered by the sun, becomes a hermit. You know, absolutely amazing. So, even right here, what I'll say is, if you made it this far, start commenting and saying what you love about Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith. We'd love to have a conversation about this. This video could easily be its own live stream. Yeah. And who knows, maybe one day it will.
Hey, we got our life and lore. Obi-Wan will be on there eventually.
Yep. But hey, with that, you know, we would really appreciate it if you'd like this video, if you'd subscribe, and just continue this conversation. You know, it'd be a great way to just share the love of Star Wars. But we are two Star Wars nerds, and may the Force be with you always.